Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the film Within the Woods, which concludes my series of Evil Dead reviews. Within the Woods was the prototype film made so Sam Raimi could raise the funds to eventually make The Evil Dead. Two romantic couples who go to a cabin in the woods, this time not looking like the cabin in the woods we've seen in all the other previous films. It's a different cabin. The one couple, who are Bruce and Ellen, decides to go off and have a picnic while Scotty and Mary decide to play Monopoly alone. And they have a picnic, and then Bruce finds all this creepy Indian stuff and a knife and realizes they're camping on an Indian burial ground. And then Ellen takes a nap and wakes up and finds Bruce to be murdered, goes back to tell her friends, and she's freaking out, and they're like, oh, it's just a joke. And then he comes back, Bruce comes back possessed by this Indian spirit and comes to kill them. This film's a little different from the other Evil Dead films in that Bruce Campbell is playing the villain and not the hero, and that the hero is Ellen Sandweiss, I guess that's how you say her name, is the main character. It's kind of more similar to the remake, the recent remake, than the original films because it's a female main character. She doesn't get possessed in the film though. And Bruce Campbell, who's playing Bruce, he's not playing Ash. Everyone's character name is the name of the actor, except Scotty, I guess, is Scott. It was kind of a small production. They filmed it for $1,600. You can kind of see where Sam Raimi came from. He had made a lot of short films on 8mm. This was shot on 8mm and then blown up to 35, which apparently was pretty hard to do at the time, but he found a way to do it. And they gained a little bit of a cult following by playing it before Rocky Horror Picture Show at some showings, and a local film critic actually gave it a review and was very nice to it. It's the roughest of all the Evil Dead films to get through, not because of the gore, it's just because of the quality. The quality of it, which is from a VHS tape, which I saw this on YouTube. I don't know if it's still there as of posting this video, but that's where I watched it. Sometimes I'm like, what am I watching? I wasn't sure what was going on because the image was so grainy and dark, but this is a bootleg. It was passed around a lot of horror conventions. My friend Russ told me that at one point. It was never really commercially released. Actually, the bootleg's often cited as the Evil Dead prequel. It's not really a prequel per se. I'd say it's more of just a promo film, but that sounds cooler. I guess it sells better that way. I don't know why it was never commercially released because it's not that bad. I actually think it's fairly good for a half-hour low-budget horror film. It moves quite well. It's quite fun. It's more like the slasher films of the time period than the Evil Dead is. The Evil Dead is really different. It's kind of a very different film, very ambitious. This film is more close to Halloween type of film. There's one shot of the house that looked a lot like a shot from Halloween, but it's inconsequential, I guess. Ellen is the main protagonist because that's what was commonplace at the time, and Sam Raimi thought, well, this is what people expect from a horror movie. I might as well do that, just like Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween. They just realized she had to be terrified the whole movie, and that's what then she was. Within the Woods works really well as a horror film from the late 70s. I really wouldn't mind if, even as bad as the quality is, if this was a feature. I said this in the Army of Darkness review, but it is fun to watch each of the Evil Dead films. I probably should have watched this one first, but if I had watched this one first, you can see how much Sam Raimi's grown from Within the Woods to Army of Darkness to now he's a major motion picture director. And even Ellen Sandweiss actually has a small cameo in Oz the Great and Powerful, apparently. I totally missed it, but apparently she is. And she went on to be Cheryl in The Evil Dead. It's a cool little short movie. If you're an Evil Dead fan and you've seen all the Evil Dead movies, it's an interesting way to see how it all started and see the prototype movie. Apparently the Coen brothers use a similar technique to get their film Blood Simple made. A lot of people still do that. They make like a trailer or they shoot a few scenes. I like how Sam Raimi did it because it's a cool little different take on this movie, and it's probably the least like how the other films like Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 remake the same story. This is very different, very, very different than those versions, and I kind of like that about it. Within the Woods is a fun little horror short, and if you're into horror movies and you're into Sam Raimi and Evil Dead, I think it's a must-watch just because you've seen everything else, and this was how it all started. Really, he was quite a talented director, even though this is such a small kind of low budget, no thrills. I think the makeup in this, which is by this guy Tom Sullivan, the makeup is really impressive. It doesn't have the fun special effects of the other ones, and it doesn't have the fun that we're used to. I think Sam Raimi, he wasn't really a horror guy. He went and researched horror movies with Bruce Campbell, who is his lifelong friend, and they figured out how to make one. This kind of feels that way, but I enjoy Within the Woods, even though it's a rough, hard to watch because of the tracking on the copy, at least I saw. I still recommend it, but I don't really recommend it to anyone who's not necessarily into the Evil Dead films. So if you have seen Within the Woods and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to. That is the end of my series of Evil Dead reviews. I cannot believe it's over because it's taken so long. Thank you all very much for watching. And I'm sorry, so much has happened between my moving and my computer getting water damage and me losing tons of money, but now it's all over and we can move on, and I'm gonna have I'm gonna do Superman movies next for Man of Steel, and hopefully I won't have another thing. I like to just do them the week leading up to the movie and not extend it this long, but I was like determined to finish this. So I finished this. Thank you all so much for watching. I should also thank JD Weiss, I think that's how you say your name. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. Who I'm always talking to on Twitter, and he was like, you should do this, and I did it, and I kind of didn't look back after that because I was like, this is a cool idea, and I'm glad I did it. So I want to thank him for telling me I should do this series, because I'm really glad I did, because it was a lot of fun, and it's fun to watch the Evil Dead movies. That's the thing I like about doing these reviews, is I feel like a lot of these I wouldn't do necessarily if I didn't have this channel. You know, I probably would be like, oh yeah, I remember those Evil Dead movies, and maybe watch one. But through this, I've learned so much that it's kind of it's made it really worth it. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.